This video is brought to you by PrizePicks. The most important film breakdowns I do are not of the prospects that everybody has known and watched, right? You know, when it comes to a lot of Browns draft picks, since they focus on the offensive side of the ball, these are well-documented players that they took. Spencer Fano, there's a ton of opinions, ton of breakdowns on Spencer Fano that exist, you know. Casey Concepcion, I mean, like Steve Smith is broken down Casey Concepcion. There's a large pool of people to pull from when it comes to Casey Concepcion and Denzel Boston, even somebody like Emmanuel McNeil Warren, who is a little bit more niche, but there's still a lot of coverage of him because he was projected to be a first-round pick. But guys like Austin Barber, those are the guys that I think it's the most important that I do this research on, because those are the guys that I come into the draft not having a lot of background on. The only thing I've really seen of Austin Barber is from the Senior Bowl with him. So being able to kind of take an extended look at his college career, be able to take a even closer look at what he did at the Senior Bowl, that's going to be a lot more informative, in my opinion, than any other breakdown, than the breakdowns on the more known players. So now that we're in the uncharted territory, right, we're in the less talked about players as we get into our breakdowns of all the Browns draft picks, and since this year they have 10 draft picks, it's going to be a lot to get through, right? A lot of tape to watch. So I'm excited to talk about Austin Barber. I think this is a player that not a lot of people know what to make of, right? He's an early enough draft pick to where he's significant, right? He's a third-round pick, but he's not a well-known enough prospect or a talked-about enough prospect for, you know, the casual fan or even the enthusiast fan to have much to say about him. So hopefully after this video, you can feel more informed about Peyton Barber, because we're going to take a pretty deep look into Peyton Barber. On just plays alone, I have, 4 minutes of plays, which is how many clips? That has to be, that has to be over like 30 plays that we have here of Austin Barber. Some good, some bad, but all plays that kind of represent him as a football player. So we're going to get into that. But first, I got to thank my sponsor, PrizePicks. Hey, let me talk to you about my sponsor for this year, PrizePicks. It's a fun way to win cash while you're watching your favorite teams. Forget complex betting rules. Their app is designed to be incredibly easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Speaking of, here are my picks for this upcoming NFL season. They have Myles Garrett at 14 sacks here. I think he will get more than 14 sacks. Joe Burrow at 3,875 passing yards. I think he'll be a 4,000-yard passer. I'm going to go with more. They have Derrick Henry at 1,224 yards. I'm going to go less than that. Check to see if PrizePicks is available in your state. You can follow me on the app at KWEN_C to see all of my lineups. Download the PrizePicks app today. Play $5 and get $50 in lineups when you download the app using the link in the description. All right, so let's get into Austin Barber here. He's number 58 at Florida. He is the left tackle. This is a nice little circle. I'm going to draw it around him again. Of who he is. So if you're looking for Austin Barber, look for 5'8". On Florida, circle him. He's left tackle. So right now that's right here. All right. Okay, so let's watch him work. We got this game versus Florida State. We also have the game versus Miami to look at. So again, we're just going to look through here, right? The reason I want to highlight Florida State and Miami are because those had NFL prospects on their defensive line. Long guys, strong guys, right? So this first rep here takes on this edge, and I think he does a solid job here, right? He does a good job fighting him with the hands. From my watches of him, I think he's a quick thinker on his feet. I think that's what separates him from other tackles in his draft range is he is a quick thinker. He's not an exceptional athlete. He doesn't have a great anchor, and he certainly could stand to be better in space. So I don't think he's a transition to guard guy, right? So if you think that this guy's going to go to guard, I don't think he's going to go to guard. You'll see after this breakdown why that's the case. But I think the thing that sets him apart and what drew the Browns to him is he's a quick thinker on his feet, right? Somebody who does not get caught without an answer often when he's being rushed. He gets beat, but even when he gets beat, he's a quick thinker and he recovers pretty quickly, pretty effectively here. You can see right here, his feet aren't amazing. He's not like getting back out that slide like super great, but able to receive, and then he gets swiped here by Five. Five gets the hands off of him, but he doesn't panic. He recovers, and he just drops that foot, and then boom, stops him. Ends up being a touchdown for Florida. So smart player. I think that's what we're going to highlight here in this breakdown. He's a smart player. Questions about overall athleticisms. Question about overall athletic ability. Certainly there. He's not a bad athlete. I think he's certainly in the threshold to be a NFL player. What his ceiling is as an NFL player, I have no clue. I tend to think he's probably like taps out at C+ tackle in the league, which I think is a good place for him to be. But yeah, he gets long-armed here by number 5. And that's a pretty effective long arm, right? I've shown you some shitty long arms from some edges in some of these breakdowns. But that's a good long arm. But what does he do? He just gets out of the hand there. He doesn't panic. He thinks quickly. Again, on your left side. He gets out pretty quick here, actually, right? Like, again, he's not a terrible athlete. I wouldn't say he's a plus athlete, but he's certainly a threshold athlete at the left tackle position, which is like, I think he has the requisite athletic ability to be a average starter at the position, right? Again, it's not amazing. It's not like Spencer Fano where he floats. Spencer Fano floats, but, pretty good. Pretty good here, right? The guy tried to speed rush him. And look, he gets the feet out there. Nice little chop steps. Gets out there smooth. And he meets him right at the arc. I mean, it's good stuff right there. Another one here. It's a solid rep here, right? Dealt with the athletic quarterback in DJ Lagway. Was his blindside protector. This guy's trying to, this edge right here, he's trying to rush that outside shoulder. You see him trying to sprint past that outside shoulder and get him on his back leg. He does a good job of meeting that, reaching that, and then sitting on it. His anchor is interesting because, like, you'll watch him sometimes and you don't think he has a good anchor, but then you'll watch other plays like this, and you're like, nah, I think he does have a fine anchor. I think it's just he's not that strong, right? And we'll see why I say that once we get to some Senior Bowl one-on-ones here. But again, solid right there, right? Hand placement's good. Hand, shoulder. Handles that there. Keeps the feet active, keeps the threat in front of him. All right, now, because of the camera angle, we got to highlight him over here. This is like as good as it gets for Austin Barber in space. Not to say that this rep is bad. This is a fine rep. But it doesn't ever get to the impressive realm of him when he's moving, right? And this is why I don't think he's a guard. When you see somebody who's a tackle to guard, you're like, okay, when they pull and they go out and hit somebody, it's amazing, right? Like it's spectacular. When you see Austin Barber pull out and hit somebody in space, it never really looks great. Which is why I don't think he's going to play guard at the next level, right? I know a lot of people are like, well, maybe he plays guard, maybe he shifts inside. I think there's a reason they emphasize that he's going to play tackle because I think he is a tackle at the next level. But yeah, this is about as good as it gets. There's going to be some ugly stuff from him in space for sure, right? But this is solid. This is fine. Again, he's not the most powerful player. So you never really see like straight up power with him. Right here, what he's trying to do is turn this guy out so you can get, this is a zone play. So you're trying to open up this zone here for this running back. Now, I don't think that zone opens up. Well, he kind of takes it. Running back stayed patient, got creative with it. So the zone doesn't quite open up. I mean, it's just barely opening up. This could be eaten up by that tackle, by that D tackle there, but he stays fighting. So Barber kept him busy enough to open it up, which is a successful block. It's just not going to look that impressive, right? He's fine, like helping out. Like he loves doing this in pass pro too. When he is there to help Chip, he'll finish the job, right? Watch him finish the job here. Boom. So like that's how he can help you in the run game. He's going to be a guy who's going to help you with some down blocks. He's not going to be a puller as a tackle, right? You Spencer Fano, you can pull him. That's the thing that they love about Spencer. Him, down blocker, right? He's going to have to down. Again, pretty solid plan here, right? He's dealing with a lot of length on this Florida State team. These guys have nothing but long arms on this Florida State team, right? So dealing with a lot of length in his face. And he answered the challenge, I think, pretty good in this game. I thought he was solid, right? Length, they swipe him off of him. Again, he just stays poised, thinks on his feet. All right, he's down on the ground. Let me just pin him. It's good stuff there. All right. So I think they pulled him here. So you're going to see 58 on the move here. And let's see what happens. That's not even like one of his worst ones. It's not a great rep there, but at least he makes contact. Pulls out. And, you know, you would like a cleaner hit there. Most certainly you would like a cleaner hit. But at least it does affect the defender. So it's not a nothing block, right? He didn't completely whiff. Again, it's never going to really look spectacular with him when he's out there in space. Like if it works and it looks like this. And that's fine. And not every offensive lineman you draft, especially ones you take in the third round, have to be spectacular at everything, right? He's certainly good at pass pro. I think he's a fine pass protector. And in certain elements, he could be okay in the run game. Here again, gets out in space. That's actually good, right? I promise you we'll get to some of the bad stuff later. But, yeah, it's actually good. He gets out there in space, meets up the DB, blocks him up. Has to be a little careful there about hand placement because you could get caught on hold with that if you're not careful. But he's careful there. And it's an effective block. Again, it's not going to be like Wyatt Teller 2020 getting out in space and just mauling people, but it can be effective. All right, let's get some more pass pro. Again, the feet are better than they look like they are. He's kind of like, and I know this term has been overused, but he's kind of a deceptive athlete, I would say, right? Like you wouldn't expect by like how he looks in a vacuum that he's a better than average athlete at the tackle position. And that's probably going to put him at average athleticism in the league, right? But like at the college level, he was a better than average guy athletically. It's just like it looks like it's not when you watch him in a vacuum. But when you see the effectiveness in the space that he's covering, it's like, nah, it's above average, right? Little here, chop, catches. I mean, they were trying to get his shoulder all game, and they didn't get it. It's a pretty good job. And then makes him run the arc successfully. Good job. If you want to know what a successful run of the arc looks like and an unsuccessful run of the arc look like, let me turn your attention to number 53 on the other side here, because he does not successfully get his man to run the arc here, right? Long arm, guy rips underneath it, lets a straight angle that forces a step up, right? So that arc for his man looked like that. That's not running the arc. This is running the arc, right? That's there. You see? So he made him run the arc. Good job. All right. Let's continue to watch some Austin Barber. I hope we're all having a good time. 58 here again on the left side. We're going to continue to watch. Again, it doesn't ever look spectacular, but it certainly can be effective at times. It certainly can be effective, right? Here, it's just some help. He doesn't really do much on this play, but he's active. He has a good motor. He's grabbing people. It's doing enough to help the play be effective. I talk about this, and when I bring on like former offensive linemen or people who scout offensive line often, there is this concept on the offensive line of, hey, if you got 3 great starters, you can figure it out with the other 2, right? And I think that's what the Browns' plan is for a lot of stuff. And Austin Barber certainly is going to probably be more in that we can figure it out with Austin Barber. Maybe he does have to slide inside the guard. But if you have a good center around him and a good tackle around him, you can design your protections and your run game in a way to just make Austin do what he's good at. And if you're able to do that, then he's going to be fine. He's not going to get in the way. He's not going to be a negative player there. I know it doesn't sound like a compliment because I'm not, what they say, glazing. I'm not over enthusiastic with my praise of somebody, right? I think we've gotten too used to over enthusiasm where somebody goes on there, they show you 2 good clips of a player and they go, this is the greatest player I've ever seen. I can't believe people watched this and didn't think he was going to be a Pro Bowl. Like, we see all kind of stupid shit like that on Twitter, on Instagram, on TikTok. I know I sound like an old man right now, but I'm right. Like, we see so much dumb shit like that we actually think that that's reality, right? I can't count you how many times I've seen people pass around highlights of a Browns quarterback and be like, this guy's going to be amazing. And it's like Dorian Thompson-Robinson, right? 2 highlights is all it takes. I'm not going to be over enthusiastic, but I do like Austin Barber. I like him a lot more than I did before I got into his tape. So my opinion of him has gone up. I'm not going to lie about what he is and what he isn't. I'm not going to sell something too big for what I think he is as a prospect. So I'm going to be careful and critical with how I speak. But don't take the fact that I'm not praising him overwhelmingly as negativity, because it's just an evaluation, right? There's good stuff, there's bad stuff, and ultimately, this is my opinion. But let's continue. That's what I put in here because I'm like, see, he's not a bad athlete. I see all these write-ups about, he's a marginal athlete. And I think, again, at the NFL level, I think he's an average athlete. I don't think he's marginal. I don't think he's like lower than average here or close to scrape. I think he's comfortably in the average tier as far as athleticism goes for his weight, right? If we're comparing his athletic ability to guys who are like 380 pounds, he's above average. But for guys his size, he's relatively as athletic as the average tackle his size in the NFL that can start, which is good, which is really good, right? Again, look how much space he can cover. He doesn't look super awkward running in space. Yeah, so he gets out here on the pull. He actually does a really good job here against this safety. I'm assuming is a safety, right? Because he's wearing number 1. Maybe it's a linebacker. That's a safety. That's a DB. It's a small guy. Small guy gets in big guy's business, and what does he do? Boom, punishes him. He likes to be a little bit of a bully too. Once he gets a mismatch, he'll do stuff like that. That's all over his tape. So, again, he's not like spectacular in space. He's not Spencer Fano in space. But I don't think he's useless. I just don't think he's a guard. Right. He's not good enough at that to build his game off of it. But All right, let's get into some of you're going to start to see some of the flaws here, right? So that's kind of an introduction to what he can do, what the dream is for him. Now we're going to watch some of him against Miami, him at the Senior Bowl. It's going to start getting a little bit more cloudy here, right? All right, so Ruben Bain right here, right? This is where I worry about his power. Ruben Bain underneath him, boom. Look how his whole body just wobbled. That's crazy. He just moved them out the way. Now, fortunately for DJ Reader, this did not catch him by surprise because, goodness gracious, what happened to that guard? He lost that battle too. But yeah, you'll see this with Austin. When he gets against guys who are exceptionally powerful, like NFL level powerful, that anchor don't drop anymore, right? You can see him try to set that anchor here. He tries right there. Body go, no. But what I do appreciate in this rep, even though, this is a clean win to Ruben Bain, he doesn't panic and he tries to stay with his plan, right? So that's what I like there. He didn't panic here and he tried to stay with his plan. It's Ruben Bain, so the plan failed. But at least he stuck with his plan. Still a lost rep, though. All right. Here we go again. All right. See, you are starting to see what I mean by he ain't the greatest in space. Right here. Just missed that one. There'll be more. But let's continue. All right, so this one's an interesting rush because you can see he has a lot of space here. This guy's going for his outside. Let's see how he handles that athletically. It's actually pretty okay. It's pretty okay. It's not spectacular, right? You would like if he can get a little bit more depth here. But, again, he eats the rush, absorbs it, sees it coming, absorbs it. The anchor is not as sturdy as you would want, but you know what? It's there, right? It's not a big anchor. It's a little anchor. It's definitely a little anchor. But you know what? He's not on a slide, right? There's a range. So he's able to get enough of an anchor to slow this guy down. He gets a little bit high with his hands, which he could have got caught a hold for. And he's lucky he has good help there from that running back who definitely helped him out. All right. Again, this is the best defensive line in the country, though. All right, so here he just get beat inside. Let's just watch that. So how did he beat him inside? Got him out and then swam across him. Yeah, gets beat for sure. Kind of exposes the lack of elite athleticism here because he couldn't get his feet underneath him at this point to kind of recover there. We watch Spencer Fano. Spencer Fano can go from here and recover, right? He can't. He don't got that margin of error. But you know what? I appreciate that he's still thinking on his feet, thinking of a way to win this rep or at least salvage it, right? It's kind of like a pilot, right? When you're a pilot, they teach you until that plane is in the ground or you're out the plane because you done ejected out the pilot's seat, which is not an option for every plane. You just got to keep thinking of ways to stop the plane from crashing, right? That's what the pilot does. Whenever they're in a mayday situation and it's not an option to exit the plane, they just keep coming up with calculations, right? If you ever listen to Black Box footage of plane crashes, they just keep coming up with stuff. Okay, we're gonna open up the flaps. We're gonna, try to flip the plane. It's all stuff like that. I'm not a pilot. I can't give you exact examples, but they're always problem solving and troubleshooting and trying to figure out how to save their skins there, right? He kind of has that quality about himself as a tackle. He'll get into trouble, but boy, do he stay in that cockpit and he tries to land that plane, right? It may not be pretty. It may not be clean, but he's going to stay in there and he's going to try to land that plane. Which is why I think the Browns coaching staff love this dude, especially after working with him in the Senior Bowl. And that's a really good trait to have too, by the way. Right? It's something that Gray Zabel had last year, right? The first round pick out of North Dakota State. All right. Against Ruben Bain here, it's a solid rep. Again, Ruben, once he gets into your chest, once he gets into his chest, he ain't got nothing to do with that power, right? Ruben gets into his chest, he can't handle that power. Right here, you can see at the end, Ruben got into his chest. It was over. Look at that leverage Ruben got. He all low. Little man going to get that push. But he did a good enough job of, keeping him away, right? Just stay away. Stay away from me. Stay away from me. The gig was up there. Couldn't do nothing about it there. Still trying to land that plane, though. All right. Ruben Bain. Again. Woo! Woo! Oh, he ain't land that plane. It happens. It happens. It ain't that big. Ooh. Yeah. He set that one up on him, right? He set that one up. Again, because he doesn't have the elite athleticism, because he's not like a super high trades guy, his thing that he brings to the table is that he's smart. There's going to be times where a dude like Ruben Bain gets something off on him, he ain't going to have nothing to answer for, right? And that's why I think the ceiling is probably at like a C-plus starting tackle in the NFL, which is good money. That's a $25 million player. If Austin Barber turns out to be Dan Moore, that's a great draft pick for Andrew Berry. That is a great career for Austin Barber. That's a $30 million career for Austin Barber a year in annual salary. You know what I mean? Austin Barber will be a success, not just in the NFL, but in the bank if he is Dan Moore. I know we shit on like tackles who aren't the greatest all the time because God forbid you're not the best in the world at your position, right? God forbid you're like the 8th best or 9th best or 15th best player in your position because, we can't handle that. But, if he ends up, he could certainly end up being like the 30th or 25th best tackle in the NFL. You know what I mean? I think that's where his ceiling is as a player because the guys at the top, they could do something when a dude like Ruben Bain does shit like this, right? Austin Barber ain't got nothing to do that. He ain't got nothing for that, right? He get out here, try to get on that hip. Ruben him punched him inside. He tried to do something about that. Now he back outside. He got him looking silly, right? But here's the good news. The fact that Ruben Bain had to resort to that to beat him is actually a positive for Austin Barber. Yes, it's a pretty embarrassing rep. It looks bad. He got you. You made his highlight reel for sure, right? I don't think he finished it with the sack, but you made the all-22 highlight reel for sure. But Ruben Bain don't break that out unless he got to, right? And if you had played well enough at tackle to force Ruben Bain to go to one of those moves, then you're better than the average tackle, right? We see this with Miles all the time. When you put a bum in front of Miles ain't got to do all that Euro step and all that stuff. No, Miles just going to win with speed. He's just going to run by you. He's going to bull rush you. He ain't going to waste none of his superpower. He ain't going to waste, let's use a video game in that. He not going to use a special on you if you average. He going to save that special for when he need it in a fight, right? This is Miami versus Florida. He's not just going to spam them specials like he playing Miami Southwest. He about to use it when he need it. And he deemed Austin Barber somebody throughout that game. He's like, I need to use my special on him. Now, the special move hit and it looked bad. But the fact that Ruben is going to that place to be able to beat him does say something about him, I think, in my personal opinion. Now, if this shit was happening all game, I would have a very different opinion about it, right? If Ruben was truly just spamming specials on him, then okay, yeah, he ain't good. But the fact is, like, okay, they battled a little bit back and forth, and then Ruben had to go to this. Okay, all right, you know what I mean? Hey, That's just the game right there. Yeah, they started spamming specials on him. Well, they didn't start spamming specials, but they started have to. That you could tell this is like the second half of the game. They started to have to use specials on him, right? Because 12, he got beat earlier by Austin Barber, and then Austin, thinking that he's about to try to go around him, reaches and gets caught again, right? They definitely had to game plan for him. He got beat though. He certainly got beat by that spin. Again, he's a thinker. He's not really somebody whose athletic ability is going to be overwhelming. He's a better than average athlete, but he's not an overwhelming athlete, right? If he gets beat badly, he can't recover. And he got beat badly right here, right? He fully misses that punch. It's just going to happen, right? He's not a good enough athlete to avoid that. But again, you didn't draft him pick 3. You picked him in the 3rd round. So this is kind of expected. This is another example where I'm like, man, I just wish you were a little bit more powerful, right? I think this is fixable for him. But there are times where you watch him, you're like, he's just not as powerful as I want him to be. Right here, he helps out on Ruben Bain. He gets to his linebacker. He actually gets good contact, but it's pretty weak shit right here. You know? I would just like you to be a little bit more powerful, right? Time that up, move that guy out the way. You got the advantage. Just a DB. I want to see you do what you did earlier against Florida State to that guy. Not this ain't going to cut it. You still in the gap. It's a little better, right? Okay, a little shove there at the end. Gets there on one. Like, he get them little itty bitty guys. He start getting tough on them. Not sure how I feel about that, right? The extra push and all that. You doing it to a guy half your size. I don't really know how I feel about that because I ain't seeing him doing that kind of stuff to the other defensive tackles. So not really something I love there. But, you know, I like to see what he did between the whistles. All right, so right here, again, just the anchor is not great here, right? So here, he gets this, and you just see how much space he loses there. It's too much space here. He tries to put the brakes on right there, but again, he don't got a great anchor. He has a small anchor. It's there, but it's not great. Some guys have non-existent anchors. Some guys have big anchors. He has a small one, right? Because you can see him put on the brakes. Right now he's backpedaling, brakes. The brakes ain't that great, right? And again, he's not the most powerful guy in the world. So I think he could stand a year in strength and conditioning before he's ready to play in NFL games. You want him to get a little bit more powerful because he doesn't have like the like Spencer Fano. I'm like, when you look at how he's built, he has that anchor in him. Barber don't. All right. Again, let's keep watching. We got a lot of clips to get through. See what I mean by not that powerful? Right, what he's trying to do here, what the attempt is here, like let's explain what both players are trying to do here. This DN is trying to just contain right here. So he's trying to get out here because he's worried about something on the perimeter. He's not really trying to get upfield, especially once he knows it's a run. He's just trying to contain. So if you are Austin Barber, you're trying to stop his contain, right? Now, he could have got better help from his tight end. His tight end didn't do anything to help him, really. But still, you want to see him be just a tad bit more powerful than that, right? Because he didn't get any pushback. He actually got pushed backwards. So certainly not what you want to see from an execution standpoint, because not only does 3 make the play, but 3 makes the play doing exactly what he wanted to do, which is containing. So, not what you wanted. Tackle here. All right, let's go. Again, I think they start to figure out he's going to overset to kind of compensate for the fact that he's worried about getting beat outside, right? So he kept oversetting in this one, right? And the guys just kept crossing him across his body. Now, this one's not really his fault. This is really Ruben Bain's fault. He gets credited for giving up a sack here because his man did get the sack, or at least got part of that. But look at what happens with Ruben Bain on this side and tell me who really created the pressure that made this happen. Oh, my God. How do people overthink Ruben Bain, man? This is awesome. Look at that. Is that the Von Miller? Yeah, he hit him with the dip. Dip and rip. Bend the corner. And that's exactly, you could just feel DJ feeling that right there and just panicking. And then him stepping up is what puts Austin in a bad position here, right? If he's able to get that ball off or he's able to just maintain his depth in that pocket, I don't think Austin gets beat. He gets beat because Ruben Bain did his thing. But they ain't really had much to do with him. Again, he gets a little high with his hands. He's got to be careful with that because they will call it. Does a good job not falling for the swipe there. He catches him, makes him run the arc a little bit. He could have been more powerful on that one and got a little bit more distance because you see how 12 gets to cut this one, right? He's trying to go theoretically to make him kind of hit this arc. Right, that's what Austin wanted him to do, but I think he kind of cuts it right here. Yeah, he kind of cuts it right there. It's fine enough, and again, this is what I mean with Austin. This doesn't look pretty, but he did land a plane, right? Like, it's not going to be pretty. It's going to look bad sometimes, but you know what? Quarterback's still up. Plane landed. Plane landed. And that's partially because he just keeps trying to figure out what he could do here once he's beat, right? So right here, gets underneath him. He's in a bad position, but he recovers by putting his hand high and then putting that other hand on the back of that DN. And then you see right here, he's going to shift his body so that he could at least get some kind of push there. Again, it's not an ideal rep. It's not teach tape, but you know what? He landed the plane. He actually does a better job of absorbing that. Hey, look, and he does some pushing after the play on somebody who's not half his size. So maybe I don't have a problem with it, right? Okay. A little extra right there. A little extra. Don't mind it when it's somebody your size. My goodness, 53 was having a rough day. Little Ruben Bain doing the 53, man. Little Ruben Bain do it over here. Yeah. Ooh, boy, they overthought it. They overthought it. Whole league done overthought it. Ooh. Just got him out there. Comfortable. Ugh, goodness. Just easy, too. I ain't even going to have to use nothing that special. Yeah, hit you with a signature. Ooh, boy, Ruben Bain, good football player. Can't wait to watch his career. All right, man, let's watch it. Let's watch Austin Barber at the Senior Bowl. Another example here of the anchor not being that great. You could kind of see why, right? If you watch my Spencer Fano video, I kind of went in, talked about, and let's be mature here, his build, right? There are certain archetypes of tackles, you know, guys who have legs, guys who don't have lower torsos, right? Austin Barber is certainly of the flatter variety here, right? Like you just don't see much of an anchor here for him, right? He's just long-legged. So when he needs to drop the anchor, there's just not that much there, right? When Spencer Fano drops the anchor, he's built like a sumo wrestler. So that lower base, when that engages, There's a lot there to stop the momentum. There's not a lot here to stop it, which is why I don't think he's that powerful of a player, and he won't really ever be that powerful of a player because you need a really strong base to create that power most of the time. Or you need to have big ass shoulders, right? Like Kevin Zeitler, right? Kevin Zeitler is one of the strongest guards you'll ever see. So, like, if you ain't got one of them two things, it's going to be hard to generate the kind of power that you need to do against these guys who are just moving at you at like 18, 20 miles per hour, you know? So, again, this guy comes in, gets close to his chest. You can see he's having a hard time stopping that momentum, and he kind of gets walked back just a step or two too far. Now, again, what I like about Austin Barber is that he's always thinking, and he thinks quick on his feet. So, yeah, he gets beat here, but he lands the plane, right? This is not an embarrassment. I think that's a hold there at the end, if we're being real. That might be hands to the face. But he got away with that a couple of times. But he's trying to land that. But I respect what the effort is for him, which is he's trying to land the plane here. Like, he's like, all right, that wasn't a clean rep, but let me land that plane. His teammate in Florida and still his teammate in Cleveland, Sapp, going up against him for a rep here at the Senior Bowl. He locks that up. You know what I mean? Like, if you're not especially powerful, you're not going to bull rush him, right? You see right here, Sapp tries to go for the bull. He can't generate the power to stop him. And look, the anchor is there. You can see exactly what I'm talking about right there, right? It's not that he doesn't know how to drop his anchor. It's just that there's just not that much there, right? So he can do it. It's just a small anchor. But, you know, that means that not everybody going to be able to bull rush him, right? Tyreek Sapp tried to bull rush him. That wasn't going to happen. And he did a good job here of getting his hands here. Now, he's got to be careful with how high he lets his hands go, because that turns in from a legal block right here to a hold right here, because he just lets his hands get just a little too high. But sometimes that gets called, sometimes that doesn't. All right, let's watch some 12 on 12 here at the Senior Bowl with Mr. Austin Barber. Oh, he just whiffed there. All right. This is what I worry about when the athletes get faster and you pull this guy. It's not going to look pretty because he just be missing sometimes. like they blocking. This actual football, man. Like, this 12 on 12. This ain't like flag football just because it's a practice, right? Like, go look at 86, right? I think that's Roush. Roush blocking. You know what I mean? Like, that's I don't want to hear the excuse that it's practice. He pulls here. That's just a whiff. That's a full-on whiff right there. So, again, I don't think he plays guard at the next level. Yeah, it's just the other angle of it. Just in case you were wondering what happened here, it's a full-on whiff. Look at that's air right there. Tom and Jerry. So, don't want to transition him to guard. Don't think that's going to be great for him. Maybe in like some super specialized way you can use him at guard for like a game or two. But full-time guard, nah, man. I need my full-time guards to be a lot better at that. That's fine right there. Is that Danny Dennis Sutton? So let's watch this one right here. So Danny wins first by getting that swipe there, right? You can see that he's going for that hand right here. Danny's going for this hand. He flashes it, and then Danny swipes it. Then Barber gets a hand on that back. Danny gets his other hand inside and uses his length to kind of separate. But again, Austin Barber going to try to land that plane. He fought to the end. He lost that one, though, but he fought. All right, let's look at what's happening here because I kind of lost track of it. All right, he's up against that Missouri edge again. He got on one-on-ones. Does a much better job maintaining his ground here. And then look at the follow-up of that. I like that. So you see how he stayed with it? Got the block he needed, followed, and finished the play. Let's continue to watch him. Here, a little bit of space. It's solid. I mean, the quarterback kind of ran him into a sack there. But the quarterback maintains that landmark. That's going to be good protection there. So, yeah, quarterback kind of runs into that, but that ain't his fault. He ain't make the quarterback do that. He ain't make the quarterback do that at all, especially when it's an open receiver right in that man's face. And he ain't make him do that. That ain't his fault. All right. They did not change the exposure settings on this camera. I apologize. But we're watching on the left side, number 78 now. Does a good job staying with this. Again, here, out, helps a little bit, sticks with his man. That's fine. Landed the plane. All right, 78. Good little pass off here. He takes on Caleb Banks on this twist. So Caleb Banks comes around. He does a good job. If he can anticipate what's about to happen, he can prepare himself for it. But he definitely has to think about it. Right? Because, look, Caleb Banks is strong, and he don't really get that much push on him. But now, it's not a clean rep for Caleb, but it's something to think about. Let's look at some of these one-on-ones. This rep right here is exactly who Austin Barber is as a player. Is exactly who he is as a player, right? Like, this rep right here is exactly who he is. Because if you're not watching that one carefully, you think that he just like completely lost that rep, but he kind of recovered and won it. Because you see that arc that 22 has to run is like what? It's the full 10, or at least 8 of the 10 of that end zone. So let's look at what happens here, right? 22 goes up, gets into his chest, and he wins right there, right? Gets that swipe. He's off balance. But Austin does not panic. He's like a pilot there, right? Okay, engine went out. Right here, this is the engine went out. How did I get here? You're probably wondering how I got here, type shit. So engine's definitely out right here. But he still got to land the plane. And what does he do? He keeps his arm active, finds a way to get right there at the chest, uses that to kind of anchor him back to the ground, and then not only does he get that anchor there, he gets a tug, and I don't believe that to be a face mask because I can't see the hand on the face mask. No, he's got that hand right there on the inside of his chest. So he gets a hand on something. The ref is watching. He ain't throw no flag. That gets the guy down, but that kind of also swings him back to balance, and now he's back where he need to be. Was it pretty? Hell no, it wasn't pretty. It's ugly as shit. Did he land the plane though? I mean, you tell me. If the quarterback is if the quarterback is, let's say the quarterback is standing right here. Is he getting hit? He's not. Like, so you tell me. It's an ugly rep. It's not clean. I think I see myself in the background. That's me right there. You're probably wondering how I got here. But it's ugly. But he didn't lose. So good on him. Kept fighting, kept landing that plane. All right. Another one of these twitchy guys tries to get around him. And again, it doesn't look pretty. Right? He gets the Edge is successful at getting his hands off of him at first. But he keeps finding ways to land that plane. This one, the Edge kind of ran himself out the play. Now, again, if he goes up against Miles going to destroy him. Because Miles is able to do all this athletic shit and then bend and be more powerful than you. Because that's how Miles destroys everybody. But he's not going to have to block Myles Garrett in a game. Right now, you would hope. But, you know, against your average Edge, he could be okay. Probably want a year of strength and conditioning before you feel comfortable putting out there consistently, in my opinion. Because I think the biggest thing that he needs to fix is the fact that he's just not that powerful. And he needs to be a little bit more powerful than he is. You know what I mean? Because he's smart, but he's not fast enough or strong enough to get away with just being smart. Right? I don't think he's going to get any faster. I think he's maxing out his speed right now. But I do think he can get stronger. All right. There's another rep here. That's good. That's good. That wasn't even ugly, right? That was clean. Edge tries to swipe. He has the hand ready for him, and then boom. That's a win. That's a clean win. That's a clean win. Clear dub. Good job, Mr. Barber. All right, last rep of the day. He gets bull rushing. Again, we see that anchor problem, right? You get that power generated. You can move him back. But what does Austin Barber do well? He's always thinking of ways to land the plane. So he gets beat by this bull early. You can tell him right there. You can see it literally in my man's face. Oh, shit. He's getting pushed back pretty hard here. But he realizes that this bull is out of control. So what does he do? All right, man. You kind of out of control. You bull rushing me. You're high. Let's just throw you to the ground. Landed the plane. Might not be the ideal way to land the plane, but sure, it landed. I like Austin Barber now that I've gotten to watch him. I don't think he's going to be a high-level starter in the NFL. I think his career probability ranges from high-end backup to maybe an above-average starter, somewhere around Dan Moore, Jonah Williams, what those guys ended up becoming. Rasheed Walker, right? Maybe at the tie end, a player who gets paid a little bit of money, but certainly somebody who is going to have to get stronger, have to get better at hitting in space, have to find a way to compensate for the fact that he just naturally can't provide much as an anchor. Once he figures out those things, I think there is a starting NFL caliber player there at the tackle position. I do think he's a tackle only. I don't see how he translates well to guard, in my opinion. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. This is a little bit of a introduction about Austin Barber, and that's why I made this video long, right? Because you need more information on a dude like this. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.